The scene opens with Ned Stark being led from the Sept, a place of supposed holiness, into the bright open courtyard. The statue of Baelor the Blessed looms in the background, a silent observer to the injustice about to unfold. This image alone is heavy with irony. Baelor was known for his piety and mercy, and yet beneath his statue mercy is denied. His stone gaze watches over a moment that is not divine or just, but deeply political and cruel. The visual placement of Baelor behind Ned reminds the audience that the gods may be invoked, but it is men who wield the sword. Ned catching Arya's eye beneath the statue is tragically intimate. In a crowd shouting, this fleeting moment of connection is the last time a father and daughter will see each other before his death. It's not dramatized with grand music or drawn-out sentiment. It is quick, raw, and filled with silent meaning. Arya is watching from the crowd and does not know what's happening, and Ned, broken, limping, publicly humiliated, still tries to protect her. That one word, he urgently whispers to Yoren, is both a command and a plea. It's Ned's last act of fatherhood, ensuring that Arya escapes the blade and the blood. That small, tragic smile on Sansa's face as she sees her father brought before the court isn't just a fleeting expression. It encapsulates her entire worldview at that moment. Sansa, still clinging to the romanticized ideals of knighthood, honor and mercy, believes she has succeeded in saving her father through diplomacy and obedience. She had gone to the Queen, pleaded with Joffrey. She believed in the rules of the game, that if you are loyal, submissive, and respectful to the throne, you will be rewarded.
If you still have any affection in your heart for me, please do me this kindness, your grace.
So when Ned is brought forward to confess, saying exactly what Joffrey and Cersei want to hear, Sansa smiles, because to her this means the bargain worked.
I am Eddard Stark, Lord of Winterfell, and Hand of the King. I come before you to confess my treason.
When Ned begins his confession, it is one of the most painful performances in the series. He stands not as a warrior or a lord, but as a beaten man, forced to betray the very core of his character in order to save his daughters. His voice is steady, but the words are a lie, and we know it. The irony is layered. Ned, who refused to lie even when politically convenient, is now lying in public, under duress, to a false king in order to preserve the illusion of peace.
In the sight of gods and men, I betrayed the faith of my king and the trust of my friend Robert. I swore to protect and defend his children, but before his blood was cold, I plotted to murder his son and seize the throne for myself.
That line carries theological and political weight. He speaks of gods, but the gods are silent. He speaks of men, but the men, the crowd, are fickle, roaring for blood. The confession is not meant for truth. It's meant to stage a public cleansing, to legitimize Joffrey's reign. Cersei, Littlefinger, Pycelle, they all understand the game. Sansa, innocent and unaware, thinks this is how justice is supposed to work. The content of Ned's speech is a total reversal of everything we know him to believe. Yet it is not for power or personal gain, it is for love, which makes Ned's arc all the more tragic.
This man has confessed his crimes in sight of gods and men. The gods are just, but beloved Baelor taught us they can also be merciful.
Then Grand Maester Pycelle's speech sets the tone for what appears to be a carefully staged act of royal mercy. He speaks with the slow, deliberate cadence of someone invoking divine authority. He acknowledges Ned's confession as a kind of atonement and reminds the crowd that while the gods are just, Baelor, the very figure under whose statue they stand, taught that mercy is part of justice too. At this point, It's clear that everyone on the royal platform, including Cersei, Varys, and even Sansa, expects mercy. The political deal has been made. Ned confesses, Joffrey pardons him, and the realm avoids further bloodshed. But then Joffrey speaks and everything flips.
My mother wishes me to let Lord Eddard join the Night's Watch. Stripped of all titles and powers, he would serve the realm in permanent exile. And my lady Sansa has begged mercy for her father.
Joffrey begins by calmly reciting the expected outcome. My mother wishes me to let Lord Eddard join the Night's Watch. There's a sense of order to his tone, a false calm that mimics what a rational ruler might say. He even references Sansa's plea for mercy. For a moment, it seems like the game will be played according to plan. But then he adds,
But they've the soft hearts of women.
That line signals a chilling shift. It is dismissive, arrogant, and laced with cruelty. Joffrey isn't just discarding mercy. He's mocking it. He weaponizes his position as king to reject empathy and paint it as weakness. With one sentence, he undercuts both his mother's authority and Sansa's desperate hope. And then, without warning, he delivers the fatal blow.
So long as I am your king, treason shall never go unpunished. Sir Ilyn, bring me his head.
No consultation, no delay, no mercy. This isn't justice, it's raw, impulsive power, the kind that doesn't need logic or approval. In that moment, Joffrey seizes the narrative and turns what was meant to be a staged political resolution into a live execution. The crowd explodes in cheers, but those on the platform are stunned. Even Cersei tries to stop it. The calculated mercy they'd arranged is gone, undone by the whims of a teenage tyrant. And just a few seconds earlier, when Joffrey started speaking about how Sansa begged mercy for her father,
And my lady Sansa has begged mercy for her father.
we can clearly see Sansa thinking that her plan worked. That smile is the purest example of her innocence. It's the belief that the system, the crown, the court, the idea of justice, functions as it is supposed to. She thinks she's watching a resolution, a reconciliation, even if painful. In her eyes, her father has humbled himself and spoken the lines, and in return, he'll be granted mercy. She thinks this is the moment the nightmare ends, that her faith in the royal court will be restored. It's the smile of a girl who believes stories are real, that the Queen's word means something, that kings keep their promises, that justice is predictable, but that smile is shattered the moment Joffrey utters the words,
Bring me his head.
As Joffrey's command echoes across the courtyard, Sansa's belief in the system shatters. Her voice, once polite and hopeful, becomes panicked and primal. Her entire world, shaped by stories of noble kings and gracious queens, crumbles in real time. This is the first time Sansa realizes that there are no saviors, no heroes, not in this world. Cersei, who had wanted mercy to maintain control, now sees the monster she created. The political animal she thought she could shape into a king has instead become a fire she cannot contain. For all her schemes, she can only watch as Joffrey tears the realm apart with one sentence. This is the moment where even the schemers realize that chaos is not easily directed. Arya, on the other hand, doesn't scream or plead. She acts. The moment Joffrey speaks, she moves through the crowd like a hunter closing in, but Yoren stops her. As the execution unfolds, the perspective narrows and the soundscape shifts. The crowd, moments earlier chanting and roaring with bloodlust, suddenly falls into a strange hush. Not literally, but from Ned Stark's perspective. It is as if the noise of the world has receded and the moment has turned inward. This is not the peace of acceptance, but the dizziness of disorientation, the eerie stillness before death. The shift is subtle but powerful, plunging us into Ned's mind as the world around him begins to lose clarity. He turns toward Baelor's statue, Not for strength or divine reassurance, but because that was the last place he saw Arya. Earlier, he'd told Yoren to look for her there. But now, the steps are empty. She's gone. He doesn't know where or whether she heard him, or if she's safe. That realization hits like a silent blow. The last thing he tried to do, to protect her, is now a question mark. He has no way of knowing whether he succeeded. No final moment with his daughter. No goodbye. It is not that Arya's absence drains hope. It's that it steals certainty. And in these final seconds, uncertainty is the sharpest wound. Ned does not look out at the crowd or to the royal platform. He does not meet Joffrey's eyes or plead again. He simply lowers his head. This gesture, often misread as peaceful resignation, is far more layered. It's an act of surrender, yes, but not to justice or even fate. He's surrendering to the chaos. All his efforts, the confession, the compromise, the sacrifice of his own honor, were meant to protect his daughters. And now, in the face of an unhinged king and a roaring mob, those efforts dissolve into silence. His lowered head is not a symbol of honor bowed, but of a man who realizes, too late, that playing the game with integrity was never enough. As Sir Elin Payne dons his executioner's mask, the scene becomes unbearably tense. We don't focus on Ned anymore. Instead, the camera cuts to Arya, struggling in Yoren's grip, fighting to see her father. Her eyes are wide, terrified, frantic. She doesn't scream, but her energy is pure panic. And then, in one of the most restrained and emotionally devastating edits in the series, the sword swings, and we do not see the blow land. The focus remains on Arya, whose world is breaking without even witnessing the final blow. Yoren, enforcing her head to his chest, offers Arya an act of mercy that the court could not offer Ned. He shields her not only from the horror of seeing her father die, but from being frozen in that moment for the rest of her life. The silence that follows is not peaceful, it's a vacuum. The absence of light and sound becomes a narrative device, as if the story itself must pause to process what just happened. Ned's death doesn't just silence a character, it explodes the fragile balance of the entire realm. The North rises in rebellion. Robb Stark is crowned king in the North. The War of the Five Kings begins. Arya is sent into exile. Sansa becomes a hostage in the Lion's Den. Even Cersei, who thought she had won, begins to see her power slip into the hands of her unstable son. The execution, meant to solidify Joffrey's rule, does the opposite. It destabilizes everything. It is the exact moment the throne ceases to be a symbol of order and becomes a magnet for blood. For the audience, this was more than plot. It was betrayal. This wasn't a shocking twist for the sake of spectacle. It was a philosophical rejection of traditional fantasy tropes. From here on out, no one was safe. Not Robb, not Catelyn, not Oberyn, not even Jon Snow. Every alliance was suspect. Every moment of peace felt like the calm before a storm. Writers across television took note. Suddenly, stakes in serialized storytelling were allowed to be real. Actions had consequences. This scene gave other creators permission to kill their darlings, to let the story lead, not the fan base.